Okay, this video shows the second review that we did in class to prepare for the quiz. And when you take the test, these questions would be on the calculator portion. But on your quiz, everything is calculator. So no matter what happens, you're using your calculator on these. So on the first type, we need to find the fourth root of this. So on the fourth root, we're looking for groups of 4. Now, if you put this in your calculator, you'd get a decimal. So you know you got to do a factor tree. So 1875, because it ends in 75, I'm thinking 25. So I'm going to get 25 and 75. 25 is 5 and 5. 75 is 25 and 3. And then I have another 5 and 5. So here's a group of 4. So I'm going to have 5, 4th root, 3. But now I had to deal with the variables. So in 9, there are 2 groups of x's with 1 left over, and with y's, there would be 3 groups of y with none left over. And there's my answer. Okay, number 2, I need to find the 5th root, so I'm looking for groups of 5 of 1458. Well, I know it's even, so I'm going to divide it by 2. So I have 1458 divided by 2, which gives me 2 and 729. 729 is divisible by 3, so I get 3 and 243. So I get 3 and 81, 9 and 9, and then a lot more 3's. Looking for groups of 5, so here's a group of 5, so I have 3, 5th root, and then inside I have a 2 and a 3, so 2 times 3 is 6. Now I'm looking for groups of 5, so how many groups of 5 are there in 15? Well, 15 divided by 5 is 3, so there's 3 groups and none left over. With the h's, there's only 1 group, and there's 3 left over. And that's my final answer. Number 3, we're multiplying. And when we multiply, the numbers we're going to multiply like you always would, and with variables, you have to add the exponents. So 3 times 4 gives us 12, and then with the exponents, I'm going to have 1/2 plus 2/3. I can't cancel the 2's out because it's not multiplication. I've got to get common denominators. So these I multiply by 6, so I get 4/6. This is 3/6, so this is 7/6. Now 12 does not have a fractional exponent. I don't rewrite that, so I'm going to get 12. With the x, though, the x is going to go in the radical, the 6 is the root, and 7 is the exponent. But I actually can simplify that more because there is 1 group of 6 in 7. So the 12 stays the same, but that 1 group brings an x out, and there's 1 left over. If you're not sure, think about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 x's. There's 1 group of 6 that represents the one that's outside, and the one that's left over goes underneath. Okay, on number 4, we're multiplying, and I think it would be easier if this was in parentheses. I think we'd mentally know better what to do. Well, when we multiply, we know we got to multiply the numbers and then add the exponents. That's great and all, but we can't do that until we've dealt with this power that's up here. We need to distribute that first. So my first parentheses is going to stay the same. So I have 2b to the 1/2. My next one, I'm going to distribute this 2. And when I do that, I'm multiplying. So it's going to give me 3 squared. Well, we know what 3 squared is. 3 squared is just 9. Then I have b to the 1/2 times 2. Well, 1/2 times 2, half of 2, that's easy. That's 1. Then I've got the 1/3 times 2. Well, I'll multiply straight across the top, and I'm just going to get 2/3. Now that I've done with the power to a power, now I can multiply. So I multiply my numbers. 2 times 9 is 18. With my variables, I need to add the exponents. So I have 1 plus 1/2. So this is 2 over 2, so this is 3/2. So I have b to the 3/2. C I can't combine with anything, so it's just 2/3. The 18 does not have a fractional exponent. I don't rewrite it, so it's just 18. The b I have to write. The b goes in the radical, the 2 is the root, the 3 is the exponent. C I have to rewrite. C goes into the radical, 3 is the root, 2 is the exponent. The c I can leave alone, but the b I have to simplify more because there is a group of 2 and 3. So if I'm looking at this b part over here, there's 1 group of 2 that's in 3, so the 1 comes out, and I have 1 left over. But this part can't simplify anymore. Okay, number 5. When you got a bunch of stuff under the radical, you want to simplify it first before you take, in this case, the cube root. So 192 divided by 3, it's going to give us 64. So I put 64, and it's on the top because 192 is bigger. With the x's, I have 7 on top and 1 on the bottom, so I cancel, and I have x to the 6th. With the y's, I just have y to the 9th. Now I'm going to take the cube root of everything. The cube root of 64 is 4. With the x's, I'm looking for groups of 3, so how many groups of 3 are in 6? Well, there's 2. How many groups of 3 are in 9? There's 3. And we're done. Number 6, I'm going to look to see in the parentheses if there's anything that can reduce, but there's nothing I can combine in there. But I do have it to raise to the 1/2 power, and I could distribute the 1/2. But let's think for a second. Anything to the 1/2 is just the square root. Okay, now I wouldn't do it if it was something other than the square root. I would go ahead and distribute, but man, with the square root, that's so easy to deal with. So I'm just going to put this all under my square root. Okay, now let's think about this. The square root of 16 is 4. Now square root, remember, there's an invisible 2 there, so I'm taking groups of 2. So with the c's, there are 7 groups of 2. Square root of 81 is 9, and with the d's, there are 9 groups of 2. And we're done. Okay, number 7, because these all have the same root, then I can multiply them together. So 16 times 4 gives me 64, and with the x's, I add the exponents. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus another 5 would be 9. The cube root of 64 is 4. If you're thinking 8, that's the square root. The cube root is 4. And then with the x's, there's 3 groups of 3 and 9, so it's x cubed. That's it. Number 9. This is one of the new ones, but we can do that. We're going to multiply it by the conjugate. So the conjugate, the first term stays the same, and the second one we change the sign. So on the top, we're going to distribute, and that gives me 36 minus 12 square root 2. On the bottom, I can do the shortcut because it's the conjugate. 3 times 3 is 9. Positive times a negative is a negative. Square root 2 times square root 2 is 2. So on the top, I have 36 minus 12 square root 2, and on the bottom, I have 7. Done. The next one, we're multiplying. You multiply the numbers outside. 6 times 5 is 30. The numbers inside, 2 times 10 is 20. But 20 can simplify, so I want to keep going. It's a square root, so I'm looking for groups of 2. So my first number is 30. I bring out the 2, and then there's a 5 underneath. This gives me 60 square root 5. On number 10, to be able to add those together, I need the same number under the radical. So I need to simplify. This is 3 and 4, and 2 and 2. So the first one is negative 8 times 2 square root 3, which is negative 16 square root 3, plus the next one, 3 and 9, 3 and 3. So the 6 comes out, there's the 3, square root 3, so this is 18 square root 3. Now I can add them together. Negative 16 and 18 is 2, so I get positive 2 square root 3. Number 11, we square them, we just square each term. So this is 7 squared times the square root of 6 squared. So we have 49 times 6, and 49 times 6 gives us 294. On the last one, this is not the conjugate, so we cannot do the shortcut. We've got to multiply this out. So 4 square root 5 times 4 square root 5. Well, 4 times 4 is 16. Square root 5 times square root 5 is 5. 4 times negative 8 would give us negative 32 square root 5. In the middle, we get negative 28 square root 5. At the end, negative 7 times negative 8 is positive 56. Before I multiply these together, 16 times 5 we know is 80, so now I can combine like terms. 80 and 56 gives me 136. In the middle, negative 32 and negative 28 gives me negative 60 square root 5, and that is my final answer. Quiz next class.